Once again, the Fed is not moving rates. We're going to be discussing that, everything that Jay Powell said in his fun little presser, and much more today on Money Never Sleeps. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Before we get going, you know the drill. It's been a few days, but don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Remember that nothing we say is financial advice, so please do your own research. House, it's good to have you with me today. Kevin is off gallivanting, terrible Wi-Fi, but we persist. We push on through. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm feeling. I think I'm feeling a little bit better than the crypto markets right now. That's for darn sure.
It's been a weird day. Shout out Leroy. Thanks for being here with us. Chris, I also wish they would turn on the YouTube chat for these pressers. I still think that they should let me do it. Like, I go out there, let's add a little pomp and circumstance, okay? Let's make finance fun for once, for the love of God. I mean, instead of the same old dusty reporters, could you tell us more about what half a percentage point move you would do if get the fuck out of here. Let's make this exciting. Jesus Christ. But excited to kind of talk about all this. We woke up, the markets were eating shit. The day started off, equities way down, crypto way down. And then we got the news that there'd be no rate hike. The markets all of a sudden got super bullish. Powell comes out there, does his normal lip service, and everyone's like, you know what? We're back. We're going back up. I don't know if I fully buy it. What about you, Mr. House?
I mean, I think it's hard to buy. It seems like no one really knows what to do. And the sign for me is this was, I think, the 15th or 14th straight meeting that the FOMC decision was unanimous. And I'm like, I cannot think of a time in American history where you've had that many people just all, yep, this is the decision we're going to make. Like, it doesn't matter what area you go, whether it's partisan politics or just anything within the political and economic sphere. Like, disagreement is kind of at the heart of democracy. So the fact that we've got all of these Fed chairs that are all aligned on this perfect plan when really nothing's really going perfect right now is like, I don't really about that. It just seems like no one, to me, it just seems like no one wants to wear the blame if something does go bad. So they're just going to spread it all out. If something goes well, hey, we all did it together. If something goes wrong, it wasn't me, it was that guy. He talked me into voting.
What we see, though, is like when we get the Fed minutes in a few weeks and we can dive into what was said, and that shows the dot plot of like where the Fed presidents think the rates are going to be. Each time we get the minutes, the dot plot is just everywhere because everyone has their own different idea. But when the meeting rolls around, no one knows what the fuck to do. Like, it is just a complete clown car out there. And so, you know, Powell, it was interesting. For the first time, I've listened to all these pressers for a while now. For the first time, he kind of got into what the Fed would do in different scenarios. And it wasn't surprising. Like, he said that if inflation remained high, but the job market remained strong, they would just keep rates where they were. If the job market remained strong, and like vice versa. And like, he got into different scenarios, and I haven't heard him do that before. But it seems like they have they know where they want things to go, obviously, but there's just no one really steering the ship at this point, and it's all just coming as a surprise to them. And so when we have multiple months in a row of inflation just being stuck where it is, whether it's PCE, CPI, whatever, all the different acronyms, they're all just kind of glued in place. PCE as well, like all of these different views of inflation and what's causing it, they're all just kind of like, well, we don't know. And so it makes it really tough from a risk standpoint. You have to look at, it was interesting too, that they're still going to reduce their balance sheet, but at a slower rate. So they're seeing, there's not as much demand out there for a lot of these bonds that they're holding. And, as I was looking at the bond market today, because that was an area where we saw a lot of chaos in equities, and we also saw, these mid-duration bonds like 1, 2, 5 year, we're all seeing a lot like heavy on the buy side because, rates were coming down, and the short duration stuff was being sold off. And so we saw the rates going up there. Now everything's down on bonds. It's like, as far as the rates go. So people are buying up a lot of different bonds right now. It's a really tough time to kind of like what's signal and what's noise, right? And then you add into it all these layers of, still don't know, like the Middle East uncertainty, everything going on in Asia, which next time Kevin's on, he can do his Asia update for us. But when you're looking at the crypto markets and we're seeing, like, we saw ETH down to it wicked down to about 2,800, just over that. Bitcoin was down below 57 for a hot minute. Do you have any targets in mind for when you want to start acquiring more crypto?
Yeah, so I was actually talking with someone earlier today, just kind of, we were just going back and forth discussing some other things, but that came to, where are your targets? And about a month ago, I'd put into a little chat I'm in, like, hey, if things keep breaking down, I can see us. And this was when we were just below 4,300, still on that uptrend. I was like, I could see us falling down to 3,000. And then if things continue to unravel, we maybe go down to like the 2550, 2450 range. Everyone's like, what's breaking right now? And I was like, oh, I'll retract it. I'm dumb. Okay. Week later, we go down to the 3,300 range. So I think I'm still kind of on track there, where I think what's likely going to happen is, we started getting close to 55 today. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize, like, there's a good chance we start going down, but that's not to say everything's going to collapse as bad as Kevin thinks it's going to. And for a while, I was fully riding the Kevin train, but now I'm starting to think, we're going to see some capitulation, but I think with all of the new institutional inflows, it's going to be very hard, unless TradFi collapses, for them to want and allow pricing to go down so far from where they bought it. Plus just all the new, or not necessarily even new entrants, but all the people that have been in crypto diehard. So, failing that TradFi doesn't collapse, we don't have a black swan, I'm thinking we see Bitcoin drop to the 50 to 52 range. And then if we really start to see, that panic sell capitulation moment, we go down to between like 44 and 46. We start recovering, and then we really enter the next, up only type cycle of like a true bull. And then so for ETH around that, I've got kind of the 2,400 to 2,550 range there. And I've started getting some bids lined up around those ranges, a little bit higher, a little bit lower. I'm at a point where, if we are in up only mode and there's no going down, I'm comfortable there. If we do go down, I'm comfortable. So, at this point, I'm just waiting for the market to really start moving. I'm pretty tired of the sideways chop. It was fun. We were in up only mode for about 3 weeks, and literally everything I was doing was just up the next day. But, realistically, that's not going to continue unless it does, I guess. And we're really in this quote unquote super cycle. But yeah, I've been most eyes on crypto. I've been gearing away from TradFi, just with all the euphoria in the air. And it's just really fun to kind of be in this post-halving where are we going type feel.
Yeah, for sure. And I think those price targets that you said were very reasonable. And I'm kind of right there with you. Like, I would be, I know Kevin thinks we're going to like $10,000 for Bitcoin. I don't think we're going below 40, but if we do go down into the 40s, that's cool. I'll buy some more there too. I've also set myself up, and I've talked about it on here a bunch, of like trying to be in a win-win situation where I got the long time horizon. I have like the perspective of, okay, these cycles come and go, and I've bought when there's been fear in the streets before. I'm still holding that. I'm ready to buy some more if there is some more fear there. So I think that's pretty sharp overall. I'm curious. I know that you stay really focused on everything that's going on in the Middle East. Has that impacted your trading at all in the last few weeks?
Honestly, no, it really hasn't. I've been keeping up to date with what's going on, but it definitely was affecting what I was doing when the Israel Hamas conflict broke out. I want to say that was like early October. But that was definitely a point where I was more aligned with Kevin's mindset, where I was like, hey, this could be the straw that breaks the donkey's back, right? But ultimately, even as things have carried on over there for better or for worse, and now we've got Iran with the strike, Israel with the retaliatory strike. They kind of said that was over, but like that didn't seem to negatively impact crypto. We entered the full up only starting in end of February, beginning of March. And everything just slowly started going up until it was just light speed. So ultimately, I was just kind of trading the volatility during that period. I was keeping up to date, but it was one of those things where I'm not trying to time the market. I'm just trying to have time in the market. I'm going to keep trading, and unless there's a massive volatile swing of say 20% in a day, then as long as I think there's opportunity, I'm going to take it. But I don't want to get caught in a massive swing trade. I'm just trying to make money during the chop in between those up and down cycles when there's a day or two of stability.
Okay, I think that's it's a very reasonable, like, you're such a wise beyond your years, Mr. House. Just very level-headed takes about all of this.
Well, see, it's having both a growth mindset, but also trying to stay long term at the same time, right? So like I'm 24 years old. I've still got a long ways to go before I need to start thinking about retirement, family, stuff like that.
5 years tops. 5 years and then you're retired.
But no, but at like the same time, I don't want to have that story of like, oh, I blew up my entire bag and had to make it back. Like, yeah, it'd be cool if it went to zero and then I made, buku bucks after. But why can't I just slowly build up buku bucks without the, oh yeah, but I went to zero part? Like, I think that's a lot.
You don't want to be greeting people at Walmart when you're 75, muttering to yourself about how you could have made it off of crypto.
Exactly. Hey, if only Shiba Inu fart coin would have panned out for me then.
Damn, RIP to that one. All right. What else, has been catching your attention out there? It feels like we haven't talked in a while. Like for me, it's been crypto and just like the year of continuing to do less. I haven't started DCAing quite yet. I've bought on some of these bigger dips, and I'll continue to do so. Primarily still BTC, ETH, Sol, some Chainlink, but you got me turned on. You got my attention to Arbitrum and Optimism a little bit, and I've been trying to look into those a little more since we kind of have, there's not much to say with Jerome Powell. Like we kind of touched on already. It's the same kind of stuff over and over again, and I don't think they have any clue what they're doing. So let's talk about something a little different today. Let's get into a few of these altcoins. If you would be so kind as to maybe give just like a quick, it doesn't need to be anything long-winded, just a little quick explanation of why I should be continuing to buy Arbitrum and Optimism. Don't give the viewers, this is not financial advice for any of you.
Yeah, no. I think so. I guess
he's bullish on these coins.
Well, so I guess we'll preface this because I think it's very important to say when we started talking about these coins and where I started looking and thinking, okay, there could be some momentum and bullishness on the horizon. And that was around like the September, August timeframe, right? So Optimism was below $1. Optimism, it was just around $1. Arbitrum was below $1. And there was a lot of activity in both of these chains, right? Optimism was kind of going the super chain route where a lot of people were building on the op stack and their chains were kind of interconnected through that sense. And then Arbitrum just had a ton of DeFi activity, and to me seemed to be the leading L2 at the time. It had a bunch of TVL, a lot of people building on it, and just seemed to have more people talking about it than, say Polygon, even Optimism or other layer twos. And so I just kept thinking like, both of these coins dropped at much higher values. We've gone down, but that was also, FTX, 3AC, all these crashes. And ultimately, right, with where Ethereum's at and where it started, even after proof of stake, it's not fully decentralized, right? And just the scalability isn't there. So the thought was a lot of narrative heating up around L2s, right? Like I remember, I think it was when you went to ETH Denver, you said everything had ZK plastered all over it. And it's like, but that stuff's still, for the most part, still a few years away, right? But people are going to need to be scaling as all of these games are coming out. All of these apps are saying we're going to have the next million users. Well, you need the infrastructure that can support a million users. And if you're on the ETH side, that's layer 2s and layer 3s. So Op and R being the two predominant ones in my mind, that was where, I took my bets. And so, around beginning of March, we had this massive top for alts. And that was also kind of when Solana meme coin season started heating up a lot, right? And everyone started going after memes. And we see alt start to die down as ETH starts taking its legs down, same with Bitcoin. So I think the first alt buy I've made recently was, I think it was 2 weeks ago. We were actually talking when stuff started going downhill in crypto. We were talking like, what targets would you potentially buy stuff at? And I said, optimism gets near $1.70. That's where I'm comfortable entering again. It ended up going around $1.80, $1.90. So I bought some more optimism. But ultimately, I am a little bit conflicted right now because, you would think altcoins would be, kind of the beta play, assuming crypto continues to rise. But it seems like the consensus from, just crypto Twitter and the crowd of traders is they don't want to focus on altcoins as much as meme coins because they've been dumped on by VCs and by the KOL shilling them these tokens before. And not made as much money, but you can go buy a whiff or a Geo Bowden and wake up the next day with 250K. So I guess that being said, I think the bullish case is if Ethereum wants to scale, ultimately these layer 2s are going to need to grow and help service that. But the question is right, how valuable are these governance tokens to the chains? So I'm a little bit mixed on how much I want to add to those positions, because I've built up some positions I'm comfortable with holding those tokens. But, as far as optimism and Arbitrum go, I think if we start going near the August through October lows from like 23 or lower than that, I'll probably keep buying some. But ultimately, they didn't get as much attention as I would have liked to see. I think optimism went just below $5 after, what did it launch at? I want to say it launched between like $1.50 and $2. Let me double check that real quick. So op launched. That's ETH.
So I'm curious then, because you had just, you had kind of brought up that you have this longer term perspective, longer time horizon. And I get the dopamine rush that comes with meme coins. That being said, when you spoke, talking to some people recently, is that really the right play though, if you do have this longer perspective?
Or no, like I haven't been trading. I haven't been trading meme coins hardly at all personally. I've done maybe 5 total meme coins, like this quote unquote meme cycle on Solana. I did very well on 2 of them. But ultimately, I was like, this is dumb and a waste of time because I'm just staring at Photon for like 12 hours in a row, which I don't want to do. So yeah, I think I like Arbitrum and Optimism as chains. I think my one concern with continuing to add to those 2 positions versus just buying and holding, say a Bitcoin or an ETH, even a Sol, or, going for some of the new protocol specific tokens is I'm just not sure how much people really care about the governance of those chains. And ultimately, does a bunch of people using optimism increase the value if people aren't caring as much about governance, right? Because you want to get optimism token to have a vote on the optimism governance forum, right? So you can focus on protocol improvement, stuff like that. And then, there's rumors from a few people big on, Twitter and other social media that Base may eventually have a token. And if Base does drop a token as a member of the super chain, like personally, I feel like Base would have a lot more demand than Optimism itself, right? Because a lot of people are big on Base. So that's the other thing is if other tokens on the Op super chain, so think like smaller Op L2s like Mode, I mean, Blast is like a hard fork of Op. But I want to say right now there are like 8 chains that are officially part of the super chain. If they all start dropping their own governance tokens, it's like, okay, so why do I want the Optimism governance token if I really only care about Mode Network and how it improves? Granted, Op super chain improvements will affect the entire chain, but like it starts coming down to like a big like semantic and like how much do I care about this chain, this ecosystem at large, which ultimately right now I'm like, I just want to know which direction things are going because I've been driving my head in circles for so long. And, I've honestly just kind of gotten more into the, I got to get some work done. Let me just deploy some capital when the time seems right, place some bids. And, there's something cool that like a new narrative pops up that all of a sudden I'm like, oh, super chain. Oh, Arbitrum. Arbitrum's got this going on, right? It's like, that changed my mind, but there really hasn't been a great new narrative to get you excited. And, we saw that run up for Arbitrum to, I want to say it cracked, what was it? $2
went to like 240.
Yeah, it went mid $2. Optimism went close to 5. So it went above where it, of their TGE price. So yeah, like I'd love to start seeing, honestly, just them break those levels. And I think that'll start driving the narrative to them if there isn't a narrative that drives them to break those levels.
Okay. I like that. Yeah.
So long way of saying, honestly, it's like, I'm on pause with alts right now until we see if people will start leaning towards alts and away from meme coins.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with, if you're trying to maximize, like right now, preserving capital is a very important thing. And you don't have to be the first person to jump into, like, yes, is there a higher reward for being the first in? Sure. Is it adequate for the risk? Is what everyone has to kind of ask themselves.
Yeah.
That's a personal decision between you and your maker.
You just distilled what I said over like the course of 5 minutes down into 5 words and sounded so much better. Opportunity cost and risk aversion.
Yeah. I mean, when you're an old grizzled veteran like myself who was born in the darkness of a bear market, you can distill these things a little bit better. Okay. Leroy agreeing with you here as well. He got rid of his Cardano, which will break Kevin's small heart. And I get it. Like, it's a lot. Like you were saying, like the idea. I used to play poker for a living. It's the closest I've come to like being on Photon 12 hours a day, and it was a comparable thing of like you could be on trying to grind all day, but at some point, like it gets to be too much, and you gotta go do something else. So I totally get that. And like I said, with it being a personal thing, it's like I don't want to have to be. Yes, could I potentially make higher returns in some of these meme coins? Sure. But I don't have the time. And like, I'm not, and even if I did have the time, I don't know if I'm going to win at that game, but I do know that I can win at being more patient than most people. So I am not going to play a game where I'm a loser in.
All I'm picturing right now is just you at a table after 11 hours. You've got a queen jack full house, and then someone pulls out a king queen and beats you with the nuts, and you just punching a hole through the table full tilt. Like, I'm going with this.
No, it was online, so that'd be me throwing my mouse against the wall at that point and breaking my 50th mouse of the month.
Ripping the laptop in half.
Yeah, God, man, those were the days. I didn't appreciate the freedom that came with that enough. Okay, that's enough rambling about that. I think we are going to end today's show on that note. I appreciate those of you who joined us, Leroy, Chris, anyone who's watching the playback later. Thanks for being here. We will be back later this week, most likely on Friday, to talk through any new developments that are going on in the markets, anything that we are seeing. We got some employment reports tomorrow and Friday, so we can touch on those briefly. Other than that, have a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.